All right, it is the Sports Mashup number 41. December 8th, 2021 is today's date. And lots to get to here today. Starting in the NBA, where last, Friday?
Yeah.
The Warriors and Suns round 2. This one was, at Golden State. Devin Booker was not playing for Phoenix. They withstood a lot of the runs from the Warriors for most of the game, but in the end, the Warriors just were too much. They made a lot of shots. So the Warriors did win round 2. So they split. They play again on Christmas. So that'll be an interesting game. Hopefully both teams are back to full strength. Wiseman coming back for the Warriors. I'm assuming Klay Thompson will be back by then. I'm assuming Booker will be back by then. So be a little bit more compelling on Christmas for sure.
I'm guessing also Curry had a better game than he had in round 1.
I think a big factor in this game was that Mikal Bridges hurt his finger in the first half and didn't come back until a little bit later in the game. So when he was not in the game defending Curry, which is something that he did so well in the first game, it really changed the Suns.
He played 30 minutes.
Yeah, he did come back. But, the other thing is, other players, the Warriors are making shots. In the first game, it was only Jordan Poole that was making shots.
Curry was 8 for 20, 6 for 11 from 3, he had 23. Wiggins had 19. Poole had 14. But then Wiggins, Gary Payton, the second had 19. And then Toscano, Anderson? He had 17.
Wiggins and those guys did not show up in the first game. So that was a big difference for sure. So the Suns still didn't allow Curry to, kill them. Curry's torched a lot of teams this season. The Suns, he's not torched either time. He had a much better game, and this one, 6 for 11, is legit, but still, they've still handled him pretty well. But both teams are now 20-4. Like I said, they'll play on Christmas Day. And then the other thing I added,
the Warriors also shot 13 of 39 for 3, so they were 48.7%, and the Suns were 8 for 22.
Yeah, Suns just didn't have the scoring in that game. They took a lot of really dumb shots, wasted a lot of possessions. That's what happens when Booker's out. It gets a little bit messy, but they bounced back and won on Monday. So they've still won 19 of 20 games. So both teams 20-4. Like I said, they'll meet on Christmas. The other thing I added for the NBA was that Damian Lillard wants a 2-year, $107 million extension from the Blazers. Now, whether this is a play to try to actually get the money and re-sign in Portland, or a play for, okay, they're not going to want to pay him, so we're going to have to trade him because they're going to have a new GM there too. That's another factor here.
And that's
it's ridiculous money.
I don't know. I don't even know why he'd want an extension there because they still need pieces around him and McCollum.
I've always thought that they had enough to get where they got, like Western Conference Final. They have enough to get there, but they don't have enough to go beyond that. Maybe not now, but a few years ago.
When they had Lamarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, but they didn't pay him, which was that the right move? It didn't end well for him in San Antonio, but he plays a pretty nice role with Brooklyn now. But, Nurkic.
And him being back still weird how he left last year because of his heart issue. And now he's back.
Yeah, he's playing a big role. They got a lot of injuries in Brooklyn, so he's playing a big role.
Imagine if he would have stayed last year, his role in the playoff could have helped the Nets.
Yeah, I wish the Suns would have been able to play the Nets in the playoffs last season in the finals. Would have beaten them.
I have a feeling that's for Lillard to want to go somewhere.
It could be. Here's the thing. Nurkic is a guy that's missed a lot of time there, and he's like the third piece there. Or was, and he missed an entire season and other times. So that's a big factor. Now, the other thing is Ben Simmons is apparently interested, or Lillard is apparently interested in playing with Ben Simmons. So could they make that happen? I don't know.
Imagine if Lillard was on Boston.
That would be pretty good. They're happy with Schroeder right now, though.
Yeah, but just him, Jaylen Brown.
Well, here's the thing. Lillard has 3 years left on his current contract, but I think he has an option somewhere, maybe after next season or something. He has an option, but he still has a lot of money that's still on his current contract. So if you're going to trade for him, there's no way a team like the Celtics could trade for him without giving up Jaylen Brown or someone like that.
That, or unless they had a bunch of picks still. But I think Danny Ainge ran through all those.
Yeah, not a lot there. A team that could do it is for Lillard at least, a team that could do it and trade young players that Portland would be interested in is probably the Knicks. Like Emmanuel Quickley is a nice piece. Mitchell Robinson could be a nice piece in that deal.
Maybe the Pelicans. Then you could have Ingram, Zion, Lillard.
I mean, is Zion ever going to play? I mean, that's kind of a big thing here. But the other thing is, how about how disastrous the Knicks free agency has turned out to be? Kimba is out of the rotation, and Evan Fournier is a disaster if he's not shooting the ball well. Like, they took a risk.
He started the year really good, too.
They let Reggie Bullock walk, and he's doing all right in Dallas. So, I mean, the Knicks are, 12-12 or something? So they've been a disappointment compared to what they were last season, but free agency not looking good for them. I wonder what happens with Kimba. I think eventually he'll get back into the rotation, but we'll see. I think they're like 1-4 with him out of the rotation or something. Didn't win their first game without him until last night. But, all right. NFL Week 13. The Cowboys predictably beat the Saints on Thursday Night Football. Taysom Hill threw 4 picks. I'm still not sold on the Cowboys. Like, their defense is...
And he broke his finger. How early in the game was it?
I feel like it was like the third quarter or something like that.
But he threw like 2 of the picks after he broke his, or 2 or 3 of the picks after he broke his finger.
At least 2 of them, yeah. I think it was 2.
I mean, the one to the defensive end.
It's just a really dumb throw.
As a walk-in touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still not sold on the Cowboys, though. It's just like, I don't think their offense is that good.
Their line's not very good. Zeke, I mean...
Tony Pollard is so much better than Zeke.
As I wrote in here, Zeke's got a knee issue, and he says he is playing unless he's dragged off the field.
Tony Pollard does every single thing except for pass protection better than Ezekiel Elliott.
I mean, he hit. It's like I was telling someone. I think I was talking about it Thursday. How Ronald Jones, when he comes in the game for the Bucs, he just sits there and hammers the hole, or he finds the edge and he gets like 7 or 8 yards of touch. He's like, I'm only getting the ball maybe 10 times a game, if that. So I'm going to make the most of it. Tony Pollard is the same way. He runs, he hits the hole, he catches out of the backfield and makes plays.
And because of Jerry Jones giving a boatload of money to Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott, and Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard is going to be a prize in the free agency market after this season as a running back. Anybody looking to pay a running back, I don't know who that would be, but anybody looking to pay a running back, Tony Pollard's going to get paid by somebody.
Carolina, Giants.
The Giants would be very interesting, I think.
Jets, maybe?
Yeah, the Jets. I mean, I like Michael Carter, but I don't know if he's really the longtime number 1 there. I wouldn't think that would be the case.
That's what I think. Pollard could go there, be the number 1, and then Carter could be the 2.
Yeah. Trying to think of other teams.
But Carolina, if you know, like we talked about last week, if they deal McCaffrey somewhere.
Yeah, I think especially if Matt Rule is still the coach, I still think that Chuba Hubbard will be the number 1 there if McCaffrey's ever gone.
Who else maybe? Miami?
Yeah, they need a running game for sure. I mean, them with an elite running game would really be a good team, I think. Because I think their line's getting better. They've drafted line too.
Maybe even the Rams?
Yeah, but Cam Akers is probably the guy there when he's back again.
Okay, so Seattle could be one.
Seattle just doesn't run the ball. And Chris Carson's there, but how good is he at this point?
They always hurt, at least if they get Pollard, they have a healthy back.
Yeah, a lot of teams have running backs. Like Atlanta, I think you hold on to Cordero Patterson and keep him in that role. And then if you keep Mike Davis, that's fine. If you don't, you draft a guy in the middle of the draft and like a CJ Verdell from Oregon or Tyler Allgeier from BYU, middle round draft picks. That could be nice players behind Patterson for Atlanta. But
I think New York, the Jets are probably one of the better options.
Yeah, they need a running game, but their line stinks too.
If he goes with Giants, then he still might just be the backup guy, and I think he's a guy who could be a 1.
Yeah, no other team really comes to the top here for me. I mean,
unless Houston.
Yeah,
they still have overpay. David Johnson and that, but I mean they don't. Heck, maybe even New England, but they got those young guys that always seem to.
I mean, Ramondre Stevenson is
Oh,
a
that's what I'm saying.
stud.
They always end up finding some young guy.
4th-round rookie, looks like a future number 1 back. And Damian Harris is good too, but he got
I have a
hurt.
feeling James White's out of there for this year.
Yeah. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris is an excellent duo, especially behind that line, behind that scheme, that's what Belichick does, and that's what those guys do. And I think other good teams do this too. Everybody on the field can block. Every single person on the field can block.
I have a feeling James White's going to be wearing red pewter next year.
Could be.
Giovanni Bernard's going to be gone. They're going to get him to be the scat back.
Why not reunite him with Tom?
I thought it was going to happen this year. And then he re-signed with New England, and then the Bucs signed Giovanni Bernard.
Yeah, but to wrap up the Pollard thing, I just think that somebody's going to get a really, really solid running back. I mean, you look around the league, though, I feel like almost every team has a set starter for the most part. Like 90% of teams have a true set starter. And it's not like they're elite number ones, but they're good enough number ones. Like Denver, for example. Javonte Williams is absolutely a number 1. Like you saw the way that he ran against Kansas City. I mean, that guy's a number 1. There's no doubt. And then, in that division, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a number 1. Austin Eckler's a number 1. Jacobs is a number 1. It's really hard to, if you're a free agent running back, it's really hard to get a good contract from a team number 1 you want to play for, a team that's competing, because most teams that are competing have a number 1.
Yeah. Like it's got to be between Houston and the Jets.
What about San Francisco?
I think they
do a lot with him.
I think they like Hasty.
I don't know. They have a lot of injuries too to running backs every season. Of course, San Francisco is like the most injured team every season, but
yeah.
All right. Let's move forward here. The Bucs, they threw the ball 8 million times. I think Brady had like 25 attempts in the first half or something, or first quarter. Didn't he have 20 in the first quarter? I think he had 20 in the first quarter.
I don't know. I know he has 35 touchdowns, and that's more than like 20 teams.
Yeah, they throw the ball a ton, and that helps. And they had the ball a lot in this game too. He did throw that weird pick 6, which was something. I mean, that was a weird play, but they still.
Giovanni Bernard was like, I can't really do anything here.
Yeah. Then you also had the Cardinals, sloppy weather game, beat the Bears 33-22. Arizona now 7-0 on the road. I believe they've won all of those road games by double digits as well in the return of Kyler Murray. I think Andy Dalton had 4 picks in that game. He will not start Sunday night, but not great for him. The Chargers tried to blow it, but then pulled away at the end. They beat the Bengals 41-22 in Cincinnati. And then the Lions. Finally, the Lions win a football game. First win in 364 days after a thrilling touchdown pass from Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown on the last play of the game against the Vikings. So,
I mean, of course, they had to make it interesting. They were up by like 3 scores.
They were up 20-6 going into the fourth quarter.
Okay, so 2 scores.
Goff had the mind-numbingly stupid strip sack on 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter that set up a 27-23 lead.
Hawkinson made an unbelievable catch for a touchdown.
Yeah. They always make it harder than it has to be. And you always felt that the Lions were going to win. It would be the Bears or the Vikings that they would beat. It's a divisional game. The Vikings are, let's be honest, I mean, just overall average. They have some really, really good players, but they're just not a very good team. I think Mike Zimmer could be a guy that gets fired.
And they're definitely not the same team without Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, and then Thielen went down in this game too.
Yeah.
So
they're missing like a tier 1, tier 2 tight end.
Yeah. Irv Smith.
And a third receiver.
Yeah. I mean, Irv Smith's hurt, so that probably hurts them overall. I think he's a decent – I think he could be probably a number 1 in some form. But the Dolphins continue to win. They beat the Giants 20-9. I think they're just proving that they don't need – they're not making Tua do too much. And I think that's kind of the way that he has to play to be successful, and it's working.
I did that. I had to pick him up for fantasy this week with Rodgers being on a bye. I could have liked for him to do a little more because he only had 2 rushes for 1 yard. Could have used a little more. I lost by 4 points, but
I mean, Jalen Waddle's a stud. There's no doubt. I mean, he is so good. Another elite young wide receiver in the league. Gardner Minshew.
Minshew Mania is back, and it is now in Philly.
And it's not going to last it's going to last through the bye week, and then Hurts is going to start the next game. But they beat the Jets 33-18. I think Gardner Minshew is a good enough quarterback to be a starter. I think he's better than multiple starters in the league right now.
Don't you say Teddy Bridgewater.
And Teddy Bridgewater is absolutely one of them. Tyrod Taylor is one of them.
He's in the top 9 in completion percentage and QBR.
I'll take Gardner Minshew easily. Well, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater has a lot to work with, too. You got to think about that.
Yeah, but his receivers have been getting hurt.
I think if you put Minshew with Shanahan, he would be better than Garoppolo. That's a fact. He has really good stats. Like, if you look at his stats, you're like, okay, he's definitely good enough to be a starter in the league. He's better than Hurts right now. Hurts is too inconsistent, but it's just they're still going to go with Hurts to start the next game.
He's definitely better than Tyrod Taylor.
Well, yeah, that's a given. I think he's better than what the Bears have, but I think eventually Fields will be the guy.
Any Jets quarterback.
He's better than Goff, I think, too. He's better than Daniel Jones. Whatever the Giants are throwing out there, he's better than. Right now, he's better than Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if he will be in the future. I doubt it if Lawrence stays in the trajectory. He's better than any rookie quarterback other than Mac Jones right now.
I would like to see Lawrence with ETN.
It'll happen next year.
Yeah.
The Colts dominated the Texans 31-0. The Rams dominated the Jaguars 37-7. Still don't buy the Rams as much as some probably do.
Those were both gimme games.
Yep. I had Carson Wentz in fantasy, 11 points, not so good. Washington football team, they continue to win. This time in Vegas, 17-15 on a late field goal by the kicker whose name I don't remember. And Logan Thomas did go down out for the season for Washington, so he had that. And then
he had a good game going.
Yeah, he had a touchdown, I remember. The Ravens failed to convert a risky 2-point conversion at the end of the game. Steelers win 20-19. Lamar overcooked it just a little bit off the hand of Mark Andrews, and a huge win for the Steelers to show that they still have a little bit of life.
But these are like the stupid decision Harbaugh makes. Like, kick the extra point.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the going for 2.
Oh, but it's like so many times he takes the ball away from Tucker, but yet he wants to use them when they need 50-yarders. But then other times, like, he's like, nah, you just stay on the sideline. Even though you're one of the best kickers in the history of football, I don't want you kicking the ball.
I get that, but I think that if you watch the game, the Ravens secondary was depleted. Marlon Humphrey was out. Everybody was hurt. You can't go into overtime.
And I think Humphreys might be out for the season.
He is out for the season, yeah, torn pec. But the Ravens defense is starting to get really, really depleted on the back end in that game. So I like the idea of Harbaugh saying, okay, we're not going to survive in overtime, so let's just try to win the game now. Like, I don't disagree with the decision. I think it was much more about that than anything to do with Justin Tucker. But the Seahawks, they finally won. I was picking them to win every freaking week for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and they finally decided to win. This time it's San Francisco game. They probably should have went to overtime if the 49ers could have converted anything at the end, but they didn't. 30-23 the final.
I picked the Niners to win this game.
I like the Niners as well, and it did not work. The Chiefs and Broncos, I fell asleep during this game. It was so boring. Ugly Sunday night football game. 22-9, the Chiefs won. Mahomes, a 57.2 rating. He's just not having a good season. He's got a lot of touchdowns, but he's also got a lot of interceptions. He's also had some bad luck with those interceptions. He used to have good luck with interceptions his first few seasons. Yeah. Opponents dropping the interceptions. Now it's going off of Tyreek Hill's hands and those types.
And Sorensen finally made a play on national TV. He's been getting burnt about every game they show. And he finally got a pick 6.
I think he got an interception on Sunday Night Football earlier in the season against Vegas, but that's about it, yeah.
Yeah, but ever since, he was getting torched.
The one play that the Packers made at Arrowhead with Jordan Love at quarterback was Sorensen getting burnt by Lazard. So there you go. Then the Patriots, just an unbelievably old-school game. The Patriots run the ball 45 times. They throw it 3 times. And they beat Buffalo 14-10, incredible win, and just a huge win for Belichick and them. And they're rolling.
Yeah. Let me look. How many fantasy points Mac Jones even got?
Well, I can confirm that someone in my league had him, and they were winning by, I believe, 1.6 at the end of the game. And Mac Jones was kneeling it, but he was going backwards a few yards. So it went from 1.6 to 0.3. He almost kneeled his way out of a victory in the fantasy world.
I think in my league, though, now they took that out where it doesn't cost you rushing yards and everything.
My league is old school, so we're rolling with it. I mean, Mac was going back 3 or 4 yards to kneel it to waste more time.
He had 0.46 points. He was 2 of 3 for 19 yards, and he had 5 rushes for -3.
And anybody who thinks, well, the Patriots proved they don't need Mac Jones is an idiot and should shut up. So, yeah, I mean, that's so impressive that the Patriots were able to do that. I mean, we're never going to see something like that again, I don't think, unless it's the Patriots doing it again. But the Bills knew they were running, and they couldn't stop it. And that was the difference. Ramondre Stevenson, like I said, was running the ball very hard after Damian Harris got hurt.
Yeah. I mean, those two combined had 200 yards.
Yeah, Damian Harris had 10 rushes and like 100-something yards because he had that huge one that broke off for the first touchdown of the game. But, Buffalo, 7-5, 7 seed right now in the AFC. New England's what, 9-4 now, and they're the 1 seed.
Well, I mean, we're all around to that part. So, playoff picture after 13 weeks. The NFC, you got the Cardinals at 10-2, Packers 9-3, Bucks 9-3, Cowboys 8-4, Rams 8-4, Washington football team at 6-6, and the Niners at 6-6. Then the AFC, you got the Patriots at 9-4, the Titans at 8-4, Ravens at 8-4, Chiefs at 8-4, Chargers at 7-4, Bengals at 7-4, and the Bills at 6-5.
I guarantee you right now, if the Cowboys and Rams played each other in the playoffs, the Cowboys would win that game. Guaranteed. The Rams have first-round exit written all over them.
And the Seahawks now have lost their safety Jamal Adams for the season due to a shoulder injury.
Yep. So he goes down. Marlon Humphrey goes down. Logan Thomas went down. A lot of guys. And other players that are not going down that are coming up. Jair Alexander back in practice for the Packers. He's not going to play this week, but he's got a few weeks here, and hopefully he'll get out there.
Smith still been playing?
Which one?
The Jalen, is that the one they got from the Cowboys?
Oh, he's been gone for a while now.
I didn't know.
They cut him after like 3 weeks, ran out of roster spots, and he was burnt anyway.
But they didn't really have a spot for him because.
Yeah, well, they had a rush in the passer, and he wasn't that bad at that. But then they brought in Whitney Merciless, who was doing a great job, and then he got hurt. So, yeah.
Houston, he's going to be on their Ring of Honor someday.
Had a great career for them, yeah. University of Illinois, Whitney Merciless, shout out. Okay, golf season's pretty much over for the calendar year, but they'll return in January.
Yeah, we had the Hero World Challenge last week. The winner was Victor Hovland, shot 18 under.
He's a rising star, and he's behind me on this magazine on the right. I guess, the right from where you are, yeah. You got Schauffele and then Hovland in the background for me. Morikawa had a 6-shot lead, I think, going into the last round here. He did not close that out. Many people speculating because he got engaged last week, and those types of things always result in a meltdown or a triumph. And
someone else who had a meltdown in that was our boy Jordan Spieth.
He was bad, yeah, not good. And him and Henrik Stenson got the 2-stroke penalty for teeing off in the wrong tee box. It was a whole big thing, but good way to go out for the calendar year. In January, they'll return. And in January, PGA Tour Live, which has previously been on Prime Video or through the PGA Tour app or other subscriptions, will now be on ESPN Plus starting in January 2022, which is huge news. 4 new streaming feeds will more than triple the coverage to more than 4,300 exclusive hours. You have a main feed, which is the primary tournament coverage, best action from across the course. The Marquee Group, which is new, showcasing every shot from each player in the group, which is, not exactly the same as a feature group. It's just one group. The feature groups are the traditional PGA Tour Live coverage of 2 concurrent groups and featured holes. Combinations of par 3s and iconic or pivotal holes will be on there. So that's really good news. People who have ESPN Plus will now just have to get PGA Tour Live. I was already paying extra for PGA Tour Live. Now I don't have to do that. And it's another great thing ESPN Plus is doing. We've seen it with their mid-major basketball streams. The NHL package on there is tremendous. Other exclusive content. It's one of the best deals in sports if you're a sports fan. $5 a month. This was a free ad for them, by the way, so shout out. Just a lot of great content on there, no doubt. And then also Tiger Woods and his son Charlie have officially committed to playing in next week's 36-hole PNC Championship at the Ritz-Carlton Resort in Orlando, Florida. They played in this last year. Obviously, the car accident about, 8 months ago now or 9 months ago? Might have been 10 months ago, actually.
This is always the one where it's like father and son, where like John Daly and Little John playing. Yeah, and Justin Thomas and his dad playing. Sometimes it's a professional and their dad, or the dad and the professional. So that made no sense, but the professional and their dad, or the professional and their son.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, I nailed it pretty much.
Because I always like watching Little John. They always coordinate their outfits together. Little John always wears shorts though instead of pants.
He's in college golf now, isn't he? I think so.
But Little John rips the ball.
Oh yeah, and Charlie Woods can really play too. We saw that last year. He's going to be very good in the future. But it'll be interesting to see Tiger out there. I don't know how much he's actually going to hit the ball, because I know it's like a scramble or whatever the actual method is. But I guess we'll have the.
I'm pretty sure it's best ball.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that sounds right. We'll have the Century Tournament of Champions to pick in January. Yeah. And we'll get back
January
to
6th and 9th. You have that. The defending champion is Harris English. It'll be in Hawaii.
So we'll see golf fans in a month for our picks. All right. College basketball. Purdue is number 1 for the first time in school history. Shout out to Purdue. Very good team.
And did you see that image of the teams who have been a number 1 in college basketball?
There's a lot of them. Yeah, I saw that.
There wasn't as many as I thought there would have been.
Yeah, I guess. There's like a limited selection for teams. That can
it looked like there was like 40 teams maybe.
It's a tall mountain to climb to get to number 1, and Purdue is good proof of that. They've had a lot of good teams over the years, and they finally got there. And the reason they got there is Duke losing to Ohio State and Gonzaga losing to Duke. And then Gonzaga also lost to Alabama. So Gonzaga's 2 losses early in the season. They'll be fine. They'll dominate the West Coast, even though the West Coast Conference is getting better.
You picked this game last week, didn't you?
I did pick Gonzaga. I thought they would be able to prove that they're still legit, but it's weird. It takes a lot of time to put that. Like, the team is so much different from last season. There's so many different faces.
Well, yeah, and Alabama was one of those teams we discussed before it started on all the transfers they got. It was like them and Oklahoma that were getting a lot of those transfers.
And Alabama has the best perimeter in terms of shooting in the country, and it's not even close. Quinterly, Shackelford, they just have every single guy that plays guard there can shoot. J.D. Davison, that's what they do, and they shot their way to a victory, or they made a ton of threes. And the opposite of that was what was going on at Madison Square Garden last night.
Who's their head coach right now?
Nate Oates.
That's what I thought.
Came from Buffalo. He's done an incredible job there. Him and Eric Musselman, Arkansas and Alabama basketball, bright future. Very good recruiting, very good coaching. So, but sloppy at MSG last night. He had a doubleheader. Texas Tech beat Tennessee 57-52 in overtime. So Texas Tech managed to score 57 points in 45 minutes and won the game. They were 16% from 3.
Yeah, I watched this game.
Ugly.
It was boring.
Second game was a little bit more exciting just because Villanova shot 53s, 13 for 50 from 3, Villanova, and they win the game by 14.
Makes sense on who they were playing.
Syracuse, yeah. No defense.
They were shooting in the zone, trying to shoot over the zone.
And has a team ever missed 37 threes and won the game by double digits? I feel like that will never happen again.
Syracuse they live and die from just the Boeheim kids' points.
Yeah, Buddy and Jimmy.
They should have. They did blow it, but they ended up winning the game in the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
Indiana, yeah.
Yeah, they should have beat Indiana by 8 and gave up the lead to go into double overtime.
Yeah, Syracuse is not very good. The ACC as a whole is incredibly unimpressive this season outside of Duke. So Duke, like I said, should have no problem winning that conference, I wouldn't think. But
Coach K's last year?
Yeah, I don't see it. MLB is in a lockout, so we will not be discussing them because they don't even deserve airtime on this program. So screw the MLB. NHL. Mitch Marner of the Maple Leafs will miss 3 to 4 weeks with an injury. The Leafs are one of the best teams in the league right now in terms of points. He has 21 points in 24 games. He will miss time. Big loss there in the top 6. And then another loss for the Pens.
He might be the only guy, too, that I like that plays for a Canadian team.
Marner? Yeah, he's a stud. I like Matthews, too, because Matthews is a U.S.-born player. I always support the U.S. guys. Even Patrick Kane's a guy that I would probably not like as much if he was from Canada, but he's a U.S. guy. I got to support him. You know how it is. But Jake Gensel for the Pittsburgh Penguins, one of the better wingers for Crosby over his time in Pittsburgh. He's a very good scorer. Week to week with an injury, 27 points in 24 games. He was riding a 13-game point streak before the injury, so he goes down. He missed significant time a few seasons ago, but he went down again. And a couple of coach moves. The Canucks fired general manager Jim Benning after I think it was 7 seasons. They made the playoffs twice. One of them was literally because of the play-in tournament after the COVID hit, and they came back and wouldn't have been in the playoffs if the season finished normally, I would assume, but they did make it, and they won a round. And head coach Travis Green was fired as well. They hired legendary barbecue Bruce Boudreau, 2-year deal, and then they're 1-0 with him. And they play again tonight. But
where did he coach before?
He's coached a lot of places. He coached in Washington at first, and then Minnesota was where he was fired a couple seasons ago. He's very much known for doing more with less. So I think that's a big part, even though there's not even less here. Like the Canucks have a lot of talent. And this is the 4th team for Boudreau. I'm looking it up now. It's 5 seasons with Washington, 4 with Anaheim, or 5 with Anaheim, 5 with Washington, 4 with Minnesota. He made the playoffs a total of every season except for 2. So that is 12 out of 14.
I think I remember him when he had his time in Anaheim.
Actually, 10 out of 14. Excuse me, I misread that. 10 out of 14 times he made the postseason. But his final 2 seasons in Minnesota, they were over 500. So he's been over 500 every single year as a coach. So, yeah, he knows how to – he doesn't exactly know how to get over the hump per se and win a cup because he's never done that, but he's coached very good teams. And I think he's a good hire here. Then the Flyers, they continue to struggle. They fired head coach Alain Vigneault and interim head coach Mike Yeo. Mike Yeo, former Wild head coach, and most known for the Blues firing him in 2019 and then making the run. So that's what he's done in his career. So maybe the Flyers can – yeah, maybe the Flyers can fire him and then bring in another guy in the same season, make it a 3rd head coach for one season and win a cup. Maybe we'll see that. But let's go to college football where the landscape has shifted very quickly.
Yeah, we just put down the top 4. You got Bama 1 at 12-1, Michigan 2 at 12-1, Georgia at 3 at 12-1, and Cincinnati 13-0. You got Alabama to play Cincinnati. Alabama, as of right now, is a 13.5-point favorite.
Not surprising.
Michigan plays Georgia, 7.5-point favorite for Georgia. Surprised it's that big of a spread. I mean, at least that game you got number 1 versus number 2 defense in the country.
I feel like it's an SEC thing.
What Alabama did to Georgia was so impressive, though.
Dominated them.
Their average was 6 points a game scored, and Bama scored, 38 or 41?
41, but one of them was a pick 6 as well. So, and they should have had another pick 6 early that was dropped.
And now they're talking about quarterback issues in Georgia.
I mean, I think everybody's known they don't have a very good quarterback situation there. Stetson Bennett's a walk-on. I mean, he's good enough to win against teams that aren't great, but Alabama's great. I mean, I never saw Stetson Bennett leading any team over a win against Nick Saban's team. I just never saw that.
Saturday where I was at, they were saying that they thought Michigan might have moved to 1 to make it Alabama and Georgia again, or they were talking about it being a matchup like this where they're trying to get it to be an Alabama-Georgia championship game for a rematch of that game.
I think it's going to be Alabama-Michigan, but
I like Michigan's defense.
I mean, they have edge rushers who can explode a game. We've seen that.
That's why I'm surprised that spread in that game is 7.5.
I think it's a respect for Georgia and what they did all season in the SEC.
Yeah, I just feel like that.
I don't think that's fair, but I think that's what it is.
And who knows? That I mean, that could change in the next week and a half. Where would these games be played at?
So the Alabama-Cincinnati game is in Texas at AT&T Stadium. And then the Michigan-Georgia game's in Miami, I believe. Citrus Bowl, Cotton Bowl, I think, is what it is. Something like that. So, or Orange Bowl or something.
The national championship in Atlanta again?
I don't even know where the national championship is. Let me find that out here.
Always find out. Then you had Miami hired Mario Cristobal away from Oregon after firing Manny Diaz.
This is something that wasn't that surprising. The national championship's at Lucas Oil Stadium this year. So,
in Indy. Yeah.
So
could possibly be the first road show for the Sports Mashup.
That seems, it's pretty close to now. But all right, Cristobal went to Miami, coached as an assistant at Miami. Oregon is a better job than Miami right now. I think there's no doubt about that. I think this job and the Alabama job are probably the only two jobs that Cristobal leaves Oregon for. He was building something really good. He had good recruiting classes. They have another one coming in. They're going to lose some players from that, obviously. But this is a weird – I mean, Miami spent a lot of money to make this happen. Buying out Manny Diaz and then trying to hire Cristobal for like over a week while Diaz was still the coach. Very weird to me. But buying out Cristobal from Oregon and then Cristobal's new contract's like $27 million alone this season or this year. So,
and then we didn't also write down Oklahoma did hire a new head coach.
Yeah, Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator from Clemson, who was an assistant at Oklahoma before going to Clemson. A perfect hire. I think that's a great hire for Oklahoma.
And then Notre Dame hired the defensive coordinator.
Marcus Freeman, yeah.
That was from Cincinnati, correct?
That he was at Cincinnati last year, I think, or the year before that, and then became the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. Now he's already the head coach. So,
and then
good hire there.
Yeah. Well, that answers our question because you were talking about maybe Cincinnati's head coach going to Notre Dame, and they're like, oh, we're going to stay in-house.
Yeah, I think it's smart for Notre Dame. Good hire, I think. Then the candidates, according to Yahoo, there's a lot of articles, a lot of different names being thrown out there, and I just want to throw the record out there as an observer and a fan of Oregon football. I really, really, really wanted Lane Kiffin to be the guy, but he just signed an extension at Ole Miss, so I don't think that's going to happen. That would be my number one guy. But other than that, the four candidates listed by Yahoo, Chip Kelly, could Chip come back? I think there's good reason to come back. He's not a big fan of recruiting, and I think UCLA, where he's at now, is going to have a lot of trouble against Lincoln Riley at USC in terms of recruiting players. So I think maybe Chip comes back. I wouldn't hate it.
Do you think people around that organization want him back after?
I think so. I mean, he left for the NFL, so
I know.
I think it's a little different than leaving for another college program like what Brian Kelly did, which, leaving Notre Dame's a little different than almost anything else. But
it still amazes me, too, how you're able to just leave your team like that knowing you're going to have a bowl game with them.
How about Notre Dame knowing that you could be in the playoff?
We discussed that last week.
It's even worse.
But now, is he coaching LSU at their bowl game? Or is Orgeron still doing that?
I'm assuming.
Or is it an interim?
That's a good question. I figured they'll have. It's not going to be Brian Kelly. There's no way. It just doesn't.
I mean, same with USC. Did they make a bowl?
No, I think they were terrible.
Is Oklahoma Stoops coaching that?
Yeah, Stoops is coaching Oklahoma, and then Oregon has one of their defensive coaches coaching them. So
why not their offensive line coach?
He's gone. He's going with Cristobal.
The Widow guy?
Yep. They were good buddies. I think that's the reason that he was at Oregon. But so offensive line coach Brad Davis will be the interim for LSU in that game.
Yeah, so you hire a new coach and then your head coach isn't even going to be able to coach the bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, there was no way Coach O was going to be able to coach the bowl game after they hired a new coach. That'd be kind of weird.
No, but it's just why did you not wait till after all that?
Because the hiring cycle starts now.
It was on my For You page. It was Brian Kelly's daughter talking about how she still had a semester left at school.
Yeah, I heard about that.
While her dad was in Louisiana.
Douche move is what that is. I think we all know Brian Kelly's a scumbag. So there you go.
Can you imagine how hard that's going to be for her for the next semester?
Yeah, at least it's only a semester.
I probably wouldn't have made that TikTok.
Yeah, probably. Matt Campbell is a second candidate from Iowa State. I don't think he would leave Iowa State for this job unless the contract was enormous, because I think he's really built them up.
I like this third spot for Oregon.
Well, the third one is
great coach
Bill O'Brien, Alabama offensive coordinator. I personally would react positively to a hire like this. I think a lot of people will be negative, but he had a good record at Penn State, probably not as good as it could have been, and then he left for the NFL. And everybody knows that every time you become a coordinator at Alabama, you're probably going to then take the next step to the head coaching job. Sarkisian to Texas, Kirby Smart to Georgia, tons of guys. Cristobal to Oregon.
Jimbo.
Yeah. But I wouldn't hate it. I mean, he's going to get another shot at some point. I don't think Oregon's going to do it, but it's a name that's out there. And the fourth one, which I think would be very under the radar and very good, Kalani Sitake, who is the BYU head coach. He went to BYU, so it'd probably be hard to pry him away. But the resources and money he would get from Oregon, because remember, Oregon has Nike Phil Knight money, would be enormous. And he's a West Coast guy in terms of recruiting and coaching. I think he'd be a very Cristobal type hire with much more success as a head coach than Cristobal had before.
Yeah, that one would just be hard to get him away from a school he went to.
Yeah, but the other thing is, though, I think the fact that overrules that is, Pac-12, a ton of resources, a ton of money.
Yeah.
Sweet uniforms, which I think is 90% of the recruiting in Oregon is how sweet their uniforms are. I think that's why people go there.
I say that his allegiance was there. He went to school there, played football there, and then to try to get him away, that's what I mean. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, and what makes it even harder is the fact that BYU is eventually going to be in the Big 12, so you'd think he'd want to stay around for that.
He's been having success.
Yeah, Zach Wilson going out of there, but we'll see if Oregon has a head coach by next Wednesday. I'm hoping they do. Get it done.
Bill O'Brien, I think, just be weird because he plays, a slow Big Ten style. I don't think he would fit in that Oregon style that they like.
Yeah, I agree. The big thing for Oregon is this season, especially, is that they just didn't have a quarterback. Like Anthony Brown was so inconsistent. He was absolutely horrendous in the Pac-12 championship game. But, hopefully they got a couple guys there. Ty Thompson probably be the guy next season, then Jay Butterfield behind him. So recruiting, they've done a good job. I think Sitake would be a great hire. He's probably number 2 or 3 on my list. I had to take Kiffin off, obviously, because, Kiffin's going to stay at Ole Miss, even though I would have thrown – if I were Phil Knight and Oregon boosters, I would have thrown 12 years, 200 at Kiffin. I mean, that would be a perfect hire. Because going back to the Pac-12, he's a guy that recruits well. He's a guy that's coached well. He went 10-2 in the SEC this season with – other than Matt Corral, they didn't have very much on that team. And he's just a good coach. But I think number 1 would be Matt Campbell, Iowa State. 2 would be Dave Aranda from Baylor, who just won a championship in his conference. And then 3 would probably be Sitake. But we'll see. Get it done. Get it done, Phil Knight, Oregon, all you people with the money and the cool uniforms. Get us a good coach, us, because I am on the team pretty much. Get it done. Let's do the betting picks. All right. 13-11 for me last week. 4-2 in the NFL, or 5-3 in the NFL. 4-2 in college football. 3-2 college basketball. 0-2 in the NHL, and 0-2 in the NBA. And then I did hit on Justin Thomas top 5. So 13-11.
I went 15-9. I hit on Victor Hovland to win. I had Justin Thomas and Morikawa to win as well, but they both tied for 5th at 14 under, and then I had Rory and Spieth. I went 1-1 in hockey, 1-1 in NBA, 3-2 in college basketball. I had the Washington-Arizona game postponed.
Yep, that's the one that I had postponed as well.
3-3 in college football, and 6-2 in the NFL.
All right, Army-Navy this weekend, MetLife Stadium. Always a great game to watch, always a big game, big stage. They want to play hard. They don't like each other on the football field. Spread is 7. I like Army -7.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm taking Army.
Yeah, they're just a bit of a force, I would think, at this point. Let's do the NBA.
It's like 6-3 versus 3-6 or something.
Yeah. No matter the record, it's always a great game, though, for sure. NBA picks tonight. Spread, I like the Bulls +3 at the Cavs and the Thunder +7 at the Raptors.
Ooh, I have that at 7.5, but I'm taking the Raptors -7.5 at OKC. And then I got the Nuggets -2 over the Pelicans.
All right, hockey for tomorrow night. I like the Blackhawks -115 money line at the Canadiens and the Wild -150 money line at the Sharks.
I have Nashville -105 over the Islanders and the Jets -110 over the Kraken.
All right, college hoops Thursday picks. Couple of interestingly kind of good to not great teams. I mean, they're solid teams. One of them is really standing out early in the season. In my first Thursday pick, give me St. John's to beat Monmouth, and then Texas over Seton Hall for Thursday.
I as well have that Monmouth St. John's game, taking St. John's, and then I have Iowa at Iowa State. I'm taking Iowa State.
Who would have thought Iowa State would be a big game this season? Because Iowa State coming in, they went 0-18 in the Big 12 last season. New head coach there, TJ Otzelberger from UNLV. They bring in transfers. They're a different team. Iowa lost Joe Wieskamp, Luka Garza. They bring in a couple guys. They look much better. They're 7-2. And Iowa State's having a great
They still
season.
have Jordan Bohannon, who seems like he's been there for 8 years.
And for the 30th time, got shut down completely by Trent Frazier. So that did happen. Some things never change.
Maybe he's still scared after getting attacked.
I did make a joke about that on the Illini show, but we'll move past that on this program.
A joke about it?
Not really a joke, but just throwing a little jab at him. I mean, people from Iowa make fun of it, so I feel like I have a free reign to do that, especially after they beat them. But anyway, Friday games, I'll take Loyola Chicago to beat Vanderbilt, and I will take Vermont to beat Brown. Now, Brown, they keep winning. They won last night. If I were betting the games every night, I would have taken whoever – I think it was Merrimack. I think it was like +4.5 against Brown, but Brown did cruise and win that game by 20. So I'm going to pick against them this time. So Vermont over Brown, Loyola Chicago over Vanderbilt for Friday.
Are you looking at my sheet or something?
I am not. I look at Haslametrics.com to find the analytics and the matchups, and then I pick the matchups accordingly.
I as well have Loyola Chicago at Vanderbilt taking Loyola Chicago. And then I have Murray State at Memphis taking Murray State.
Anytime I can pick against Jerry Stackhouse, I do it because I do not like him at all. But that's besides the point.
Is he the head coach of Vanderbilt now?
Yeah. And he's doing a terrible job. So there you go. Saturday, going with a couple of Big Ten games. Michigan State over Penn State and Michigan over Minnesota.
I have Nebraska at Auburn, taking Auburn. And then UCLA at Marquette. I'm taking UCLA.
All right. Let's go to the NFL. Thursday night football tomorrow. Vikings, Steelers. Doesn't look like Thielen will play, but Dalvin Cook could play. I will take the Vikings -3 against the Steelers. I still think the Steelers are dead. They gave you a little bit of hope last week if you're a Steeler fan, but no.
I'm as well taking the Vikings in that.
And this is a game where you got to bounce back after losing to Detroit.
Yeah. And then Sunday night football, we got the Bears at Green Bay. 12.5 point spread here. But I'm taking the Packers.
Yeah, I would usually be pessimistic and not pick the Packers there, but I'm going to roll with it. Until they lose to the Bears, I am just going to be confident in them winning. Even if they don't win this game, I don't care.
I mean, Fields is starting this game.
I think Fields is going to be good eventually, but I think they'd have a better chance with Andy Dalton in this game just because of the way that he can kind of pick the defense a little bit. I mean, I know he was terrible last week, but the weather was terrible. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to lose this game.
I think they'd have a better shot with Nick Foles in this game.
Well, it's going to be a lot about Fields and if he can make plays happen because he made some really good throws in the first game against Green Bay. But both teams have evolved since then. I think the Bears have gotten worse. The Packers have gotten better, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But the Bears' defense is going to be the big key here because no Mac, a lot of injuries. Their secondary is not very good.
They got one Mac.
Well,
Khalil's brother.
Yeah, they can have that, and he won't make anywhere near the same impact. But LaFleur has done nothing but completely scheme up and pick the Bears' defenses apart in almost every game they've played, with the exception of the first game, which was a 10-3 Packer win. But until the Bears win,
I have a feeling Nagy's gone after this year.
You would think so. I mean, the Bears
Pace should be gone as well.
Like the Vikings when they play the Packers, this is the Bears' Super Bowl. So let's hope they can win the Super Bowl.
And then Monday Night Football, you get the Rams at Arizona. Arizona's 2-point favorite. I'm taking Arizona -2.
I don't buy into either of these teams in the playoffs, but the first game they played, Arizona annihilated them. I think the Rams are going to win this game because I think there's always a balancing out thing. I don't think Arizona's going to go 15-2.
I just have, Stafford hasn't been doing that well against pressure, and I have a feeling Arizona is just going to bring that to him the whole time. Chandler Jones is going to be all over the place.
Yeah, I just don't really know rhyme or reason other than the fact that I don't think Arizona is going to win out.
And is J.J. Watt gone for just the regular season? Can he come back at all, or is he out for the whole year?
He could probably come. I think he's made some cryptic comments about maybe coming back in the playoffs, but I feel like it would be really hard.
I just feel like if you're in the playoffs, he's going to make a double team, and then you've got to choose: are you double teaming him on this play, or are you double teaming Chandler Jones?
Yeah, that's a big factor. I mean, that definitely hurt them when he went out, but they did lose their first game. The game after he went out was the Green Bay game. But all right, NFL picks for Sunday, 5 games. Go ahead.
I got Dallas at Washington football team, taking the Washington football team +4.5. Raiders at Chiefs. I'm taking the Chiefs -9.5. Jags at Titans, taking the Titans -8.5. Ravens at Browns, taking Cleveland -2.5. I was going to take the Ravens, but their defense but still taking Baker out. I'm taking the Browns. And then lastly, I got the Niners at the Bengals. I'm taking the Niners -1.5.
All right. I will also pick the Ravens-Browns game. I'm going to take the Ravens, though, +2.5 at Cleveland. The Chargers are pretty banged up. Keenan Allen on the COVID list. Mike Williams on the COVID list. I'll take the Giants to cover +10.5 at the Chargers. The Chargers are the kind of team that has a huge win that loses the next week, so I'll go with that. Chiefs -9.5 against the Raiders. I'll take that all day. I'll take the Bucs to beat the Bills -3. I think things are going to get worse in Buffalo before they get better.
Where's that game at?
It's in Tampa. I'll take the Titans -8.5 against the Jags. So those are the picks. In terms of the footy picks on the pitch, I went 7-3 last week, 32-17-1. I remain undefeated in the MLS. I believe 5-0 now in the MLS.
Sweet. What's left in the MLS? Just the finals?
Yeah, I'm picking the final. Yeah, that's coming up. But all right, picks for this week. I'm 32-17-1 overall. League One, give me Lille +140 over Lyon. I'm taking Lille almost every week, and then I'll take Clermont +265 in their game against Angers or however the hell you say that name. It's Italian, so. Or no, it's French. Sorry, French. Serie A is Italian. Serie A is where we'll go next. Juventus -255 against Udinese. I'll take that. And then Sassuolo and Lazio draw +245. I've hit a couple of draws, so I might as well try it again. La Liga, Villarreal versus Valcano, -130 Villarreal. I'll take them to win. And then Real Madrid +110 against Atletico Madrid. I'll take that. Premier League, give me Chelsea -330 over Leeds. Arsenal -155 over Southampton, and then I'll take Tottenham. It's a good number, I think, for Tottenham, +275 against Brighton. Bundesliga, Union Berlin -140 over Firth, and Dortmund -205 over Bochum. And then the MLS Cup final. Portland Timbers versus NYCFC. NYCFC is a team that I've rode a couple weeks now, but I think Portland and Seattle, I guess they have that big rivalry up there in soccer. In the MLS. So I will take the Portland Timbers. I believe this is their second cup if they win it, +175 against NYC.
They've been the underdog this whole time since you've picked them, right?
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a magical run. But I'll take Portland Timbers to end that. And there we go. All right. Next week, December 15th, we'll be back for number 42. And we'll have a little bit more to cover probably in terms of news items. Hopefully Oregon is a head coach by then, and then we'll know some more about some bowl games and all that stuff. We'll pick a lot more games as well, and we'll see you next week.